Hey, it's Arrow, and this is Frag. This is where you question the questions and you question the answers to those questions, because the whole entire idea of defragging is to get to know who you are. When you look at yourself in the mirror, do you know who that person is? You've traveled with them for a long time. You've got those innermost loving or hating feelings inside of you, but do you know the reason why you have those feelings? And where do you grow from those feelings? How do you find yourself in a position of a new year versus where you've been in the past? Maybe you're happy in the past. Maybe you're trying to make changes, but you can't get out of those changes because your past has more importance than anything else in your life. This is defrag. There are two places that I defrag. I do so in a journal, and I do so while I'm out here taking a transition walk. A transition walk is where we, Jazzy and I, we go through the forest. Like today, it's a rainy day, very rainy. It's not cold, but it's very winter-esque. And so you come out here into the forest where there are no leaves on the trees, and it looks very black and white. And you allow your imagination to not just sit there and create pretty pictures, but rather to be in the moment, to be present. And man, I'll tell you what, that takes a lot of practice to get into that mindset, because it doesn't just happen overnight. You've got to be able to use your daily disciplines to find yourself in an area of personal growth. A thought came to me while putting some words down on a different podcast, and the thought was, I never got to see my listeners smile. All those years of terrestrial radio, and I honestly believe in my soul I never got to see my listeners smile. The reason why is because inside a radio station control room, you've got the walls. I did the days of radio when we had 45s and albums. Then we moved to carts, and then somewhere in the latter part of the 1990s, maybe into the new millennium, it was all about the computer. But when I say that I didn't get to see the listener smile, let's defrag that. Let's break that down. What does that mean? Because I went to personal appearances with the radio station. I promoted. Lord knows I loved being out there on the street. I spent many New Year's Eves with them. What does it mean I didn't get to see the listener smile? Look, I'm no different than 80% of the people who get into radio. It's all about connection. 90% of the time, it's about trying to be funny. We would sell a thought like you couldn't believe, but we never really saw the listener laugh. We assumed that because it made us laugh, then they would too. And there were many times that my jokes, my handwritten assumptions of what is funny and what is not funny failed. Not only inside the studio, but I know that it failed inside the hearts of listeners, because people would write to me and they would talk to me on the phone and they would say, no, dude, no. That one, I think you could have put a lot more thought into that, because what you just said, I don't know, guy, that's every reason in the world for people to tune out. Let's move the clock ahead now to 2020, where I became somebody in CS, customer service, where it wasn't about a control room that had carts and albums and 45s and commercials and salespeople driving you totally insane. It was about being in front of people 100% at a grocery store. It's no longer a land of make-believe. It's not theater of the mind. I can see listeners. I can see their smiles. I can hear them laugh. I know when they're sick. I know when their bodies are in pain. Whereas being that radio jock in terrestrial radio, I never really got to be in a position where I could see. So when I say that I never got to hear my listeners laugh or even smile, I do on a daily basis in customer service. But it's so strange as an aging adult, and the reason why is because what took me so long to get here? Where along the path do we need to learn more about ourselves so that we can get out there and share what it is that we've been called to do? You defrag those moments by going, okay, what got in the way? Because what got in the way cannot get in the way anymore. What stood inside your heart is no longer a platform of blockage, but rather what stood in your heart is that thing that's now in your past. But I talk with so many people, that's all they want to talk about is their past. It's like pain management. Do you really know what that is? Let's defrag it. Pain management is comparing your present situation to how you used to be. Meaning that, sure, I played hockey, I jumped off houses, I did really crazy things as a kid. You wouldn't catch me doing that today. But what happens is that when I have pain in my legs, I compare it to those moments when I didn't. So life management means stop looking at your past and relying on what you thought were the greatest times to be your map. Right now is your greatest moment. Let's defrag that. Right now is your greatest moment because you're living in the presence of now. And being here, you have full control of what's going on. Now, this is not one of my harebrained ideas. I learned this from my Sabanim in martial arts. You know, martial arts is more than just kicking, punching, falling on the mat and stuff like that. Martial arts is about getting inside the head and heart. What are you doing for your community? What are you doing for yourself? How are you spiritually? So Sabanim used to look at me all the time and say, can you control it? Do you have any way of controlling it? If the answer is no, then move on. Saying that brings me back to Marc Maron, his latest podcast. He wants to throw everything away in his house. And his quote was so much like Sabanim. He says, your legacy is not in a box. Get rid of it. Think about that. Break it down. Do some defragging here. Your legacy is not in a box. Yet, if you were to walk through my house, from my daughter's room to my studio to the garage to the attic, boxes filled with what? My history? No, I think it's just my junk. My junk. Because, you know, we've talked so many times about the Swedish death cleaning, and that is that if the people that you love so very much find no value in the things that you have in those boxes, get rid of it. It's not that I'm looking in my past when I say that I never got to see my listeners smile or my listeners laugh. What it is, it's telling me as we enter this brand new year that the focus should be on the people. Get to see their laugh. Get to see their smile. Make it a priority. Don't hide behind walls. Don't hide behind favorite songs. Find yourself in what they're doing, what you're doing, and how life in itself can become stronger. Mentally, I don't think there's anybody that's the mighty, mighty Hercules when it comes to strength. But the more you get to know yourself, the more that you defrag that image in the mirror, the more you begin to understand the shape and color of your eyes. Now, I don't know about you, and I'm probably a freak for even talking about this, but my eye color changes with my moods. It's almost like having a mood ring inside my eyes. So I know where I'm going to be going. And through careful studies, as well as defragging, if I see a certain color in my eyes, I know it's time to change my mindset. Defrag in 2023. A pin. Just ask yourself questions. Simple questions. Questions that lead to more questions. And then you question the answers. Your greatest question has not been asked yet because you won't go there. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time that you take yourself there. Because you know what? Your legacy is not in a box. And the crates that you are carrying inside your soul are getting too heavy. I'm Arrow, and that's Defrag.